Okay, hi everybody. We are beginning with Esoteric Astrology Adventure number 43, and we are continuing with the sign Aries. We have now reached the point where we are discussing the keynotes of Aries. The keynotes of the sign Aries are 4 in number, all conveying the same idea. Well, let's see if we agree with that. They are diverse, but perhaps behind them all is a similar idea. They can be expressed in the following 4 injunctions, which are given symbolically to the incarnating soul, and I would say over a period of time and when incarnating in Aries at different stages of evolution. Okay, what have we? Express the will to be and do. Aries is the sign most connected with pure being, as I said in relation to the soul of India. And Aries is a sign of action. So in the lives of so many of us, there is a dichotomy between being and doing. And in relation to Aries, both are required. Aries is most associated with God the Father and with the pure spirit aspect. That is the aspect of being, but also there is multiplex activity involved in the pursuit of being while in the 3 lower worlds. So a sign of a pure assertion of spirit, which does not need to act. It does not need to be anything other than itself, simply to persist in being. And also a sign of great initiatives undertaken in the worlds of action, the 3 lower worlds. Those are the worlds of action. There are the worlds of consciousness, and then the worlds of pure being. Unfold the power to manifest. Aries is downward tending when the soul is entering incarnation, and whatever seed of energy, whatever design there is in the inherent in the soul, it is Aries that seeks to bring that forward, push that forward into form. Let form again be sought. Push that forward into manifestation. We have the 7th ray connected with Aries, the ray of manifestation, and the 1st ray as well in the Manu's department is related to the preparation of the vessel, preparation and sustainment of the vessel of humanity. Enter into battle for the Lord. Oh, by the way, unfold the power to manifest. I also want to say that the hierarchical ruler of Aries is the great planet of manifestation in which the highest and lowest meet. It is Uranus. And I think, you will remember that from when we were looking at the creative hierarchies. There they are. And here we have Aries, the 2nd liberated creative hierarchy. Its hierarchical ruler is not given here, but it is the planet Uranus. Okay. Enter into battle for the Lord. Well, what does it mean to battle for the Lord? There is a divine plan. Higher than that is a divine purpose. Matter from the previous solar system, which is the matter of our 3 lower worlds, resists the imposition of the divine plan and purpose. Aries wants to see to that imposition. In the process of doing so, it enters into conflict with the retrogressive forces. So in this particular case, the Lord is whatever logos we're dealing with, the planetary logos in the first instance, the solar logos in the second, and so forth. There is a higher source of inspiration for all monads, and it is the logos of which they form a part. The monad carries the design of that logos and its intention to create a certain pattern or configuration in the lower worlds. This involves strife, or contending with the forces of opposition or the forces of resistance. Aries is preeminently a Martian sign. Its first ray, of course, demands imposition of purpose and plan on matter, but Mars will, as he who goes forth, and he who enters into battle, and he who undertakes conflict for a certain ideal, this is a planet of warfare and strife, and is characteristic of Aries. There's also the mental battle involved with Mercury, and whether Uranus battles or not, we can attempt to decide. Certainly it seeks to renovate patterns, and that involves contest with resistance. Enter into battle for the Lord. And the Lord is, our own soul in one respect. The Lord is our monad. The Lord is our planetary logos. Whatever superior logos that has a plan, which we, as a spiritual being, are serving. Arrive at unity through effort. We have to realize that the first ray and the seventh ray, in ways, are rays of unity. The first ray is the ray of synthesis. The seventh ray is the ray of articulated synthesis. It's a ray of relations, of archetypal relations. The fourth ray is conveyed through the esoteric ruler of Aries, which is Mercury, and it is a ray of unification. Aries is always equal to the application of energy in a specific and focused direction, and that is effort. It is the application of energy against resistance. All of that is for the purpose of achieving a type of oneness, whether it's a homogeneous oneness finally under synthesis, or an articulated oneness under the seventh and fourth rays. So, excuse me, express the will to be and do, unfold the power to manifest, enter into battle for the Lord, arrive at unity through effort. And whoever has a prominent Aries in their chart, or is working with respect to a nation that is ruled by Aries, either as its sun sign or rising sign, can meditate upon these mantrams and apply them, seek to apply them. The individual can question, to what extent do I express the urge to be and do? To what extent do I unfold the power to manifest? Do I enter into battle for the Lord? Do I expend effort to arrive at unity? What type of unity is it? These keynotes are to be applied as meditative methods for all those who have the sign prominent, or are passing through a period in which there has been an ingress of, let us say, the ascendant or the sun into Aries, or even the progressed moon into Aries. The keynotes would be valuable and would guide our efforts. So creation, in doing, being, activity, strife, synthesis. Notice how he equates synthesis and unity, although synthesis is of a higher order. These are the particular keynotes of the Lord of the constellation Aries. These are the nature of the Lord of the first constellation, and enable him to influence our planet to these results. Now, something very important is said here that reveals to us that the constellations do indeed have lords. Some have said, well, only solar logoi have lords, and the constellations are simply aggregations of solar logoi as their bodies of manifestation are seen from our Earth at a certain particular angle, as if the constellations are not really ensouled as a whole. But here, the entire constellation Aries is ensouled by a great cosmic lord, and thus it is by inference with all the other zodiacal constellations. There are 12 zodiacal lords, and they manifest through a number of solar logoi, some of which we see, and others of which, I suppose, are less prominent, less visible. Creation. This is taking the idea and putting it into form, being, the assertion of essence, activity, motion, action in the three lower worlds, strife, contesting with the opposition, synthesis, bringing it all together either in homogeneity or in our articulated, patterned perfection. The Lord of the first constellation. And thus the great cycle of struggle. That's typically a Grecian word, under the first ray, fourth ray, sixth ray. Mars bringing the sixth ray, Mercury the fourth ray, ray of struggle. First ray always imposing and therefore struggling. And thus the great cycle of struggle towards expression, the will to express, the seventh ray, which Aries also transmits, starts. And the foundational words of the secret doctrine, with which you are all so familiar, presumably we've read the secret doctrine, or DK is saying that as esotericists we surely should, with which you are so familiar, express the goal and purpose of the first sign of the Cardinal Cross, or really of the logos of the constellation, which expresses itself through a sign which is within the aura of the earth and perhaps within the aura of the sun. And what is this? What are these foundational words? DK repeats them on many occasions, and they are very, very important in occultism. Matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and soul is the vehicle on a higher plane for the manifestation of spirit. And these three are a trinity synthesized by life, which pervades them all. So life, in a way, is the point within the triangle of matter, soul, and spirit. Sometimes when you think of a vehicle, think of a hand in a glove. The true mover of the glove is the hand, but the hand is not visible. Only the glove is visible. So the moving force is invisible and causing the movement of the vehicle. Of course, when we look at when we look at a glove in motion, we don't say, "Oh my goodness, there's a glove in motion and there's no hand within." We infer and we presume that the indweller of the glove is present, namely the hand. And so we must with all of our vehicles. We have a body, it is moving and expressing because of the indwelling soul, spirit, etc. And life is something even greater. It is, I suppose, absolute essence. Right, moving on. What appears in Aries as spiritual energy, and because Aries is so associated with the monad, with the first aspect of the monad, and probably also in some sense with the jewel and the lotus, what appears in Aries as spiritual energy enters into the soul stage in Cancer, in which sign the soul incarnates for the first time in form. Okay, we've been discussing this in the previous Esoteric Astrology Adventure, the idea that en masse the soul, the projection of the soul on its own plane, the soul in incarnation called, enters incarnation in a mass sense in Cancer. Okay, so spiritual energy, he's going through the Cardinal Cross now. The energy of pure spirit associated with Aries enters the soul stage in Cancer. The soul in incarnation takes form. The soul incarnates for the first time in form, and Cancer is the great sign of form, and its rays, the third and seventh, are rays having to do with the manifestation of form, reaches a point of equilibrium in Libra. And what does he mean by equilibrium? In which sign soul and personality achieve a balance of cooperation. That's very important. Have we reached that stage in which there is a just cooperation between the soul and personality, in which the demands of both are honored? It must be, of course, transcended in Scorpio. So it reaches a point of equilibrium in Leo. Sorry, talking too fast. Reaches a point of equilibrium in Libra, in which signs soul and personality achieve a balance of cooperation, and in Capricorn, the will nature arrives at fulfillment. It began in Aries as will. It arrives at fulfillment in matter, and a visioned goal is reached, the mountaintop experience. So there's the Cardinal Cross in terms of the incarnation of the human monad as the soul in form, reaching a point of balance after evolution in Libra, and achieving the mountaintop of mastery over matter and the triumph of the soul in Capricorn. There is a kind of will related to Capricorn called the will which conquers death, the death of the immersion of consciousness in form. In Capricorn, notice how he weaves this in and out. You know, he doesn't really stick to one sign when describing a particular sign, because one of the ways of learning about any particular sign, or any particular subject for that matter, is by contrasting it, comparing it with other signs or subjects. So we are achieving fulfillment of the will. Remember, to be an initiate is an act of will, and it is the will of the soul dominating the will of the personality completely, so that the personality can no longer assert itself and conquer the willing soul. Okay, in Capricorn, the man reaches either the height of personal ambition, or he becomes the initiate, attaining his spiritual objective. We've seen many powerful people in the world achieving the height of personal ambition. It is said that Julius Caesar had Capricorn rising. I think Aristotle and Nassus was a Capricorn, I believe. I think you can look into the world and find people that have attained. Of course, Albert Schweitzer attained his spiritual objective. He was a Capricorn. Paramahamsa Yogananda, a Capricorn. Swami Vivekananda, a Capricorn. But if you do look into the world of ambitious people who are simply fulfilling their personality objectives, you will find many Capricorns reaching the top, whether the sun in Capricorn or Capricorn rising. So we are looking at two different kinds of goals. One is the goal of the personality, and the other is the goal of the soul in incarnation, reflecting the purpose of the soul on its own plane, which reflects the purpose of the monad, the essential spiritual man. The difference between these two goals depends upon the mode of progression around the wheel of life. Now, you know, we have discussed this as being either, the mode of progression is either clockwise in the ordinary sense, or counterclockwise in the case of the disciple who is responding to his soul ray as he progresses through the signs in the counterclockwise order. Although that, you know, perhaps should not be taken literally, this idea of progressing in clockwise or counterclockwise manner. You know, suppose you're an Aries person and in your next life you're born in Libra, which is possible, certainly, if you die in Libra. Are you progressing clockwise or counterclockwise? I think it has to do with how you respond to the energies of particular signs. There is a clockwise method of responding, which is basically personal and relates to the lower form. And there is a counterclockwise method of response, which adapts the energies to expression through the higher chakras and is basically spiritual in nature. It should be remembered, generalizing again, and speaking symbolically, that the crosses also turn, being the spokes of the great wheel. The great wheel is the zodiacal wheel, and by that he seems to, all wheels do turn. So the question is, does the zodiacal wheel turn? And there have been astrologers who say that it does, that it is a great chakra. If you think about the zodiacal constellations as the heart within the head of the one about whom naught may be said, and that all chakras do turn, then the zodiacal constellations are going to turn as well. Although, strictly speaking, they do not make a circle. They appear, at least they do not make a circle, all of them lying on the same circumference. Certainly not. Some of the constellations of the zodiac are much closer to us than others, which are extremely distant. And even in the constellations themselves, there's a huge discrepancy in some stars being close and some stars being far. Just take the constellation Scorpius, for instance, and some are very, very far away and some are closer, and then you would have a problem with the rate of speed of the turning wheel. So he is speaking somewhat symbolically, but it is possible there's a kind of turning. Also, when you're talking about the crosses that the different quadruplicities form, you will see that in order to create a synthesis, like any wheel, it must begin to turn upon itself. The chakras turn upon themselves and create that synthetic condition in which they finally turn in all directions simultaneously, and you have a globe of fire. Well, it's possible in a cosmic sense that the different crosses of the constellations will also turn. Now, whether that is symbolically or interiorly or subjectively, this has to be determined when we know more. But suffice it to say that when you want to make a synthesis out of a cross, the turning of the cross, spiraling upward, the radius getting smaller and smaller, rising to a point at a pyramid, or creating a cone, these are the symbolic figures for the synthetic process, which is achieved through the turning of the cross. So they are spokes of the great wheel, and this is the zodiacal wheel. The undeveloped man goes from Aries to Capricorn and to Libra and Cancer, talking about the clockwise progression on the Cardinal Cross, whilst the developed man reverses this process, so we have the initial impulse in Aries, go forth into matter, and Capricorn, let ambition rule and the doors stand wide, dense materiality achieved. In Libra, there is the recognition that there are perhaps other factors than dense selfishness, and one moves outward in affection towards other beings and begins to learn what love is. And in Cancer, some of the sensitivity under Neptune is learned